U.S. equity futures are on the move this morning, following the news of a 90-day lowering of most tariffs between the United States and China to a much lower level. 30% is what we're talking about, which is well below the 145% that existed before this, and far below the percentages that Donald Trump was talking about himself on Truth Social on Friday, saying maybe 80% sounded like a good number. This morning, you'll see that the markets, the Dow futures, up by more than 900 points this morning. Right now, we're looking at the S&P 500. We have basically erased all of the losses that came from Liberation Day since the Trump tariffs, down by just 0.2% at this point. So we've made up all that ground that came back.
What? The booger. What? You mean all the losses were made up? You mean all? I don't understand what you're talking about. Because I was told by mainstream media that these were losses that will never be regained. These were losses that the Donald Trump has materially changed their outcome. They are now out in the cold with absolutely nothing, and they would never recover. And then if you believed that, I mean, after hearing it, if you believed it, oh my gosh, my 401k has been demolished. It's like, okay, well, just hold on. The stock market is volatile. It's like the nature of it. But when people lie and say, well, you're never going to get that money back, it's like, then if, by the way, if you heard that, if someone, oh, that's money that you're just never going to get back, and how dare you vote for this villain? It's like, okay, well, guess what? You shouldn't be in the conversation. Donald Trump, when he said, ooh, this is a good time to buy. And people want to say, that's insider trading. Insider trading. It's like, how? He put it on social media. He didn't just tell he told his investors that they should buy. And that's like, no, he told the world. He told the world, good time to buy. I just want to point that out. You cannot, I'm sorry, you can't believe Rachel Maddow. You can't. They lie. Anything that comes out of MSNBC, they hate Donald Trump. That is their business model. So when they tell you, oh my goodness gracious, you'll never get those savings back, you're done. They're hoping against hope that nothing will change and that Donald Trump is wrong. But this proves, no, Donald Trump was right. Since April 2nd. You're also taking a look at the S&P futures for June, since the Trump tariffs, now up by 2.22%. I think that must bake in today's gains as well, to take a look at what's been happening with some of these things. Let's check out the Treasury market as well. You'll see that right now the 10-year is, 444. And the 2 years all the way back up to 399. So some big jumps that you're seeing with futures. And maybe that's an indication of less thoughts of a recession being much less likely. I told you yesterday that today the stock market will be gangbusters. I told you yesterday that today the stock market will be gangbusters. Of course it is. And people think that they want to believe that Donald Trump's the moron. It just boggles the mind. But if you're suffering from TDS, then yeah, Donald Trump's a moron. Yeah, go take a look at your 401k.
Oil. If this takes place. Oil prices this morning. Yeah, right. Let's take a look at, we'll take a look at oil in just a sec. Yeah. First, we'll look at gold prices. WTI up by 3%, back to almost $63 a barrel. Brent crude is up 2.9% at just above 65 at 65.75. So markets on the move in a big way. And
friend Kyle Bass is a big China hawk, obviously. But he said China came begging to the United States. Thousands of Chinese businesses were shuttered and failed each and every day over the last few weeks. 1,800 businesses in Shenzhen and Zhejiang closed in one major area of China this week. I mean, I think there's.
They came begging. So, once again, I'm not an economist, but if your economy is based on your manufacturing and the customers of those products stop buying them, your economy implodes. Why do you think factories were shutting down? Why do you think workers weren't getting paid? Because if the customer is no longer buying, and by the way, I'm not talking about essentials. I'm not talking about beans and rice. I'm talking about, toys, an extra frying pan. You want a sleeping bag. You need a ski jacket. I'm talking about things that you don't need to survive. But you had the mainstream media telling you that if you can't buy 17 dolls for your daughter, then you're not only a bad parent, and Donald Trump is the one that made it so.
I'm not selling anymore. It's Saturday and I only made 25 yuan today. How's anyone supposed to survive?
China's streets, avenues, and neighborhoods are being taken over by mass strikes, rallies, and protests. The reason is simple: U.S. tariffs.
China did not want the world to know. No, that was on lockdown. Nobody is going to be talking about this. Because the last thing they want you to know is that you, as an American, are in the driver's seat. They don't want you to know that.
Something to that. It's nice that that we have the Treasury Secretary first here. I think it's 7 to get because there's so many questions.
So many questions.
Yep.
But right now we still have questions about this deal itself, which we'll get to talk to him about. Juliana is in Geneva, though, where all this has been taking place. And as we were trying to get to her earlier, we're going to get to her now. Good morning.
Morning. Thanks for your patience, guys. So here in Geneva, we witnessed marathon talks over the last 2 days, 8 hours of discussions on Saturday, several hours more yesterday, and they've yielded a major breakthrough. As you noted, we've seen the U.S. and China now agree to slash tariffs for 90 days. So both sides have agreed to cut tariffs by 115%. In terms of China's tariffs on U.S. goods, it's now going to come down to 10%. The U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods going to drop from 145% to 30%, because you've still got some levies on fentanyl in there. During the 90 days, the Trump administration, Secretary Scott Bessent, saying the two sides will negotiate. The U.S. will continue moving toward a more balanced trading relationship. Take a listen to how the Treasury Secretary characterized the Trump administration's approach to China and these negotiations this morning.
Neither side wants a decoupling. And what had occurred with these very high tariffs, as Ambassador Greer said, was the equivalent of an embargo, and neither side wants that. We do want trade. We want more balanced trade, and I think that both sides are committed to achieving that.
That was the Treasury Secretary speaking in this room just a couple of hours ago. He also used the opportunity to stress the Trump administration's fact that they've got a process, a plan, and now a mechanism for further talks, seeming to address the market concern that there wasn't a plan in place when the tariffs were announced back on April 2nd.
Here's the problem, and nobody's going to talk about this. You're not going to get this from mainstream media. Maybe you'll get it on Fox, all right? Because I said that there's no way in the world that they came to this conclusion in 2 days. No way, no how. They must have been back channeling this. There's no way. Well, it turns out the Biden administration was allowing China to slide on all the tariffs and to just ignore them. It turns out that there was already an infrastructure with regard to tariffs in place. It was Trump's plan from the get-go, but Biden didn't enforce it. I need to say that again. There was an infrastructure already in place, but the Biden administration allowed China to run roughshod and really it wasn't that he allowed it. It's that he didn't have a negotiating hand, because Hunter and Biden, Hunter and Joe, they're all compromised. In fact, his entire family is compromised.